Welcome back. How you guys been? It's been a rough couple days for me. Went and played the X-Wing tournament. Got thoroughly trounced, but by my own dice and not by anything that was flying or strategy-wise. And I say that, you know, some people, oh, the dice got me. Literally, one of my matches, I rolled, let me think, I think it was 27 defense dice, beginning to end, you know, first volley all the way to the end of the match. And every single one came up blank. Not focus, not evade, blank. So that was crazy. Very, very crazy. I did win one of my matches, even though my dice seemed to have turned against all reason and me. But that was that. Let me see what else. Let's see. I'm going to get the drawing video done for the giveaway. I can't currently now since Time Warner Cable decided to bring the entire East Coast internet down or something like that. So, can't do that. Day before the tournament, I did base coat all these Death Watch guys so I can get to work on them. Which is strange that I would, you know, do that and let's get this painted. I'm going to do this kind of thing going on. Because right after I did that, they placed an announcement in the Facebook page for the local game store where I go and hang out and play and do the tournaments and stuff. And the next tournament is 1,500 points, 3 coat minimum on your models. They've never done a paint requirement, and all of a sudden, paint requirement. I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, these guys are going to have to be painted if they're going to want to enter into any kind of a tournament match. So there's that. So I'm really going to have to start thinking about what I'm going to include in my force and what I'm not going to include in my force, and come up with a decent 1,500 point list. Fortunate thing is, if I'm running Inquisition, all of my Inquisition is currently painted, including my newest base Inquisitor. Basically my Bring Servo Skulls Inquisitor is what she's going to be. And except for these guys, Crusaders, but I'm not even sure if I'll use them, so pretty much my Inquisition is good to go. So that's not an issue there for Inquisition. If I were to just use base Space Marines, I would say most of my older lists are about 75% of those models to 100%, depending on the list, are already painted. So I could go with some older lists and certain models. The Death Watch, unfortunately, the only thing I've got here going for me is Kilting Cassius. Kilting Cassius is painted and based. So you got Kilting Cassius. So that's unfortunately some of these are sticking. I use this as my background for my airbrushing. You can kind of see the paint everywhere. This will come off pretty easy, not a big deal. Put this over here with the Dreadnought. Now, it was kind of late when I was finishing up, and I had refilled my airbrush quite a few times, and just didn't get this last little Dreadnought arm. And I just really didn't feel like filling up the airbrush again and doing that, right? Because it was really, really late, or early in the morning, depending on how you look at it. And I just didn't want to have to mess with that airbrush. It's really hard. I'm going to have to get another pipette. Apparently, LT got a hold of this pipette and clogged the nozzle. See if I can clear it here a little bit. Yeah, there it goes. But yeah, LT likes to mess with stuff. Anyway, got some layman's media out, and what I wanted to do, Because I know some people think airbrush is cheating, and it's not. Airbrush makes things go faster, but you still have to acquire skills to use an airbrush. It's a different set of skills, but it's still skills. So, but I wanted to show, if I can get this consistency right here for what I'm looking for, that you can go ahead and paint these base coats on, or your minis, without the airbrush. This is pretty watery thin, but see, you can just go and do it. Now with the airbrush, if I get an area too wet, what I'll do is I'll go in and just push the air button without any paint. I have a 2 stage. Let me go ahead and show you my airbrush. It's not a super expensive one. It's the Neo 4 Awada. So Neo makes this, I believe, for Awada, and so it's not Awada quality, but it's decent. And what I mean by the 2-stage or 2-step is that what you have to do, let me see if I can show this right, is to activate it you have to press down the button for air. So pressing that opens the air valve, air comes in here, and then for paint what you have to do is pull back on this right here, and depending on how far you pull back is how much paint you'll get. And that's because there's a little needle in there that gets pulled back. Let me see if I can set this aside a second. You usually paint without this on here anyway because it always gets clogged and constantly have to clean it, but let me see if the camera will pick this up. If I put my hand behind it, I think might do it. Okay, see that needle tip right there? I have it upside down, but if you pull back, see that needle tip coming back in? So what you're doing is basically opening up that hole there at the tip, and the more you open it, the more paint flows. So that's a good kind of system right there. And what that allows me is sometimes, since I mix my own paints, sometimes I do get them a little too thin, and they'll kind of blow through the airbrush a little bit and be a little bit too thick in areas. So all I do is just use that feature to just use air and kind of push the paint around or blow it off and dry it so it's nice and smooth and even coat, and I don't have to worry about things. But if you want, you can achieve very similar effects with the paintbrush. You don't have to have, you really don't need the expensive equipment. I really need this to be able to be farther away and not have to lean on it, but you don't need an airbrush, even a cheaper one like I have. Definitely not an expensive one unless you plan on gaining some really good airbrush skills and taking those and kicking those up a notch and being able to like airbrush tiny details and stuff, which I would love to do. I'd love to get an airbrush and work on those skills. It'd be nice to have them, but I'm not there right now, and I do not have the equipment to go with that place either. But as far as like mass basing models, that's really what I use my airbrush for, is mass basing in large colors. Like if I get in the mood, I like the Death Watch, I can do all their left arms, the silver, with the airbrush. I'm good enough to do that. If they were like my Scutari, I did all their cloaks with the airbrush in the red, and some of the other red areas on them I did, and then came back with the detail brush and cleaned things up. So that was pretty easy. So yeah, you can do stuff with the airbrush. See here, this paint is drying up just a little bit more. Layman's median, revive it, keep it thin, and just thinly layered on, and you can achieve pretty much, here I'll show you up close. I want to paint the part that I'm trying to hold. Pretty much the same as the airbrush. A few thin coats You'll see areas where you can still see the gray, but you just go over that again when you do your next coat. Nice thin coat, you keep the details, and you don't worry about it so much. So it doesn't, you don't have to have an airbrush to do those details, and you don't have to do anything crazy to keep the details on the model. It just takes a little bit more patience and time. And I think those are the two things sometimes, especially me, that I get running out of, is the patience. I want to get them painted, I want to get them on the table, I want to play them, and which is, you know, which does hurt some of my painting, because I could do, you know, I can, and I have, but not very often, do the stick all the individual pieces on the corks and all that stuff, and then take the model and put it together afterwards. You know, just assemble parts so I'm not having problems getting two areas on the model and stuff. And that really is a better way to do it, but it's not the only way to do it. I mean, because you can go for just some basic 2-3 color schemes, maybe just a tiny bit of some other colors on certain areas. Do really decent tabletop quality, get it out on the field to play, and that is good. That is good to do, because if you're trying to get, like, unless you're really capable of those things, which you see sometimes on the Facebook groups or in the magazines or on the boxes or on the codexes, that takes time. You're looking at models that, like, let's say an average model, not like, let's just say this guy right here. He's a little above average because he's got that Xeno face blade, but that guy will take me, from now, because he's already base coated, so ignore his base coating time, because all those guys took me 3-4 hours to do, because I do thin coats and then go back over and thin coats, even with airbrush. I mean, that's a lot of guys too. But ignoring that time, you know, because that's a lot of guys, just massive base coating. Ignore the base coat time, doing the paint time, about an hour to do him to a minimum tabletop standard. Get him good to go. And you guys have seen some of my videos, and I don't really know what to cut out of some of my videos sometimes. So a lot of those are actually just start to finish, and when I stop, it's because one of the kids or something has, like, done something or barged in or saying something, or noise, background noise or something that I've got to go take care of, or like something like that. So usually in my videos you're seeing pretty much 99 to 100% of the process of what I'm doing on a model. So most of those videos are about an hour, 17 minutes. Some are a little longer, some slightly less, but you know, it takes about an hour to do a model like that. And when you see those models that look like so awesome, you're just like, wow, coolest thing ever. Those guys are investing many times that into that model. I mean, I would even go so far as to say 10 times as much time. But that's what it takes to get it right like that, right? So you just have to do your best, and it's good enough because you are never going to get to the level of those painters unless you paint model after model after model. And many of those poor models that you start off with are going to have to suffer the indignity of some of the mistakes you're going to make along the way, unfortunately. And I know that it kind of stings a little bit, because, you know, we're all out there paying the same price. It's $50 for a 5-man stern guard set, you know, or some $35 for the new Deathwatch 5-man set, $80 for a Land Raider. You know, we all paying these same prices. not American dollars. Some people are paying different amounts, but you know, about the same value all over. And it hurts when you like spend that much money on something and it turns out kind of like, not really proud of it. But the point is, you need to be proud of what you can achieve now and the improvement in it. Because we've all been there, and we're all somewhere else too. I mean, I'm not the greatest painter in the world, and for some reason, even locally, people ask me, you know, because they see some of my models and they're like, "Hey, could you show me how to paint?" Because they have gray War Machine or Warhammer. They have just base gray, not even a base coat on them. The base colors that came out of the box. War Machine's like red, white, blue, whatever the faction coloring is. And I'm like, "Hey, can you tell me how to paint? Do you have any tips to paint?" And the first thing I think is like, wow, my painting skills suck. Why would you want advice on how to paint from me? You know? That's what I'm thinking. What in the world? What's going on? But apparently, to them, what I'm doing is nice. They're pretty good, even though to me it seems like, well, that's just not where I want it to be. And usually, you know, I answer them and tell them the stuff that I know, the stuff that I've learned, like painting your models basically as if you would dress them. Start with the skin up, and it's, you know, basically because each layer, the next layer is going to be covering the areas where you go over or out of lines or make mistakes, and it's a really good way to do it. And I kind of use that combined with another kind of like most color thing. Like I'll start off with something that is the most paint that's going to be on the model because it's the most amount of coverage, and then move on. And I kind of combine those two for my painting strategy as far as what I paint on the model first and where and how. Alright, this is just about there on this hand. Now this is going to be, and there's no doubt about it, even though I thinned the paints and all that, applied it in several thin layers, it's going to be a thicker coat than the airbrush. So the airbrush can do it so much more delicately, and you still see some of the grays peeking through on the fingers and stuff. And when this dries, it'll get one more coat going over it. But as you can see, you can pretty much achieve these effects with a brush. You don't have to get the fancy equipment. Fancy equipment does help. And it's not cheating one way or another. You're not less of a painter because you happen to use an airbrush to base coat your models. Because I tell you what, there's some guys who can do some beautiful things with a paintbrush. And then there's some guys who can do some amazingly beautiful things with an airbrush. And the thing is, the guys who can do it with a paintbrush sometimes can't do it with an airbrush, and vice versa, you know. So it's not that either one is better than the other, it's just they're different ways of doing something. And one should always just stick to what you love, you know, not necessarily what you're good at. Because sometimes, you know, what you're good at is not what you love. And what you have to do is work on what you love to make it what you're good at. You know, if you really pick up an airbrush and really just enjoy what you can do with it, then you have to work at it. Make yourself better. Unless you're some kind of airbrush, you know, savant, prodigy, then you don't worry about it because you got it. You got this. The rest of us will just have to work on our skills. Okay, so that's pretty much done. There's some areas here that'll need another coat and such. But yeah, I'm done with that. So this was just a little chat I wanted to have. Let me see, before I go, let me go over in my head. Oh, I did make the trade for the... Oh, I forgot I dropped the yellow cap to this. Good thing there's only water in this bottle now. Ran out of ISP and haven't been out to get more, and water works just fine. Just makes more of a mess when I use it. So, I need to get out one of my little bowls that I can clean like normal people do. The little bowl and swishing. But one is holding bits over here, and the other one I use to mix airbrush paints in, so it's got a ton of black paint in it. So I need to get that cleaned out so I can use it for a cleaning bowl again. But anyway, okay, so did finish the trade, so I got another bunch of these Death Watch guys that came out of the box set, the Death Mask, which is Veterans and the Death Watch, and then the Artemis model. So I got those, but I have told myself that I'm not going to assemble more models, at least not in large bulk. I may do one or two here for you guys or something like that. I'm thinking about something that I'm gonna just mull over in my mind how it would work, and it might be something I do every once in a while. But anyway, beyond that, I have those. Got rid of those Eldars that I didn't want. I'm going to have to call when they're open, because it's late now. They're not open. I think they'll be open tomorrow maybe. I have to check the time zone that they're in. This might be one or two time zones. What would that be? Earlier than me, or towards California way than me. So then I'll have to wait later in the day to call. But I'm going to call about one thing that I ordered from one company, because it's been long enough for it to be mailed, and they haven't sent a your thing has been mailed thing, and it's not showed up at the door yet either. So, and it's one of the cool things I want to do with you guys. It's one of the projects I spent a little of the budget on this month to see if I could do this cool project, and it's some equipment and stuff that I've never dealt with before. So it's the first time I ordered from this company, so they're kind of making me sad a little bit, but kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt right now, for now. And we'll see how that turns out. I'm gonna call them, and we'll see where that goes. I did manage to order something else. It was don't say this too loud, but it was slightly over the budget my wife gave me. Just a little bit. Okay, she's gonna find out, but no need to let her know sooner than she will. So maybe next month's budget might be cut, but I did order something. It was kind of crazy too, because I was gonna get it from the store and they didn't have it, so I went ahead and ordered it, and then 2 days later they got it in the store. But in my defense, I did go to the store and ask about it, and they said they weren't going to get it. And so then I was like, well, okay, well, I'll just order it then. So, and I don't order things from the store a lot, because they have so many games that they support. So unless they're doing, like, they could have a call out and say, hey, we're doing an order for this, and when you order up, and I know a lot of people are going to order, and that they're going to do that order in a specific day, and it's going to come in quick, then I just go ahead and order my stuff myself. But for most of the stuff I do order from my store, or get from my store. So that is supposed to come in Thursday of this coming week, which I'm not 100% sure when you guys will get this video, but hopefully you'll get this video before Thursday. So that's when that's supposed to come in, Thursday. And then I'll show you that, and we'll talk about what we're going to do with that. So got that, got we just drew. So that's really the updates of what's going on right now. I'll probably be painting some more of these guys up. I'll show you some of them painted, and I might do a couple videos of painting them, like do one or two of them with you guys. I have an idea. I made that Xenophase sword. Oh, is it in this stuff? Did it get swept in this special box? Let me dump this real quick and check. I know I'm starting. Yeah, there it is right there. I made this, and it's not really a Xenophase sword. You know, the one that I made, but it's kind of in that style. And the only thing it doesn't have is these cool little markings and stuff. But I thought about it, and I have the burr bits on my Dremel tool, my little battery powered Dremel that I use. And I was thinking, you know what, we've made this anyway, and it's, you know, no big deal. Maybe I should try to burr on this and see if I can make some of those little symbols. So I might try that and see how that goes. And I'll let you guys know how that goes if I do try it. But other than that, everything is as planned. We are definitely going to be working on more models. I will probably be doing some more assembly stuff because I probably can't keep myself 100% to not assembling stuff until everything's painted, because there's a good deal to paint. But I'm making pretty good progress on the painting though. And now with this new incentive that the next tournament that they're going to hold, and that's going to be in October, requires fully painted 3-color minimum. I will be really trying to go for it, because I would like to bring the Death Watch, even though it's a new army and I won't have a whole lot of practice with it, and I really have to be going over the codex and studying and trying to figure it out, and there'll be a lot of rules to remember, so I have to try to come up with some memory aids for me for the tournament. I want to bring it for 2 reasons. One, being a new army will be new to most of my opponents, and so they may not have strategies for develop for it. And 2, it is the army that I've always wanted to play with 40k. It's the hard, fast, coming, crushing down, small bands of humanity's last hope kind of soldiers coming down against all odds and laying into the enemy and just using their superior firepower and protection and faith in the Emperor to get the job done. That's really what I see as the Marines, and this army I think will provide me the ability to kind of play that on the battlefield. And what that comes down to is it's a fluffy army, and I brought Inquisition, playing just pure 100% Inquisition to a tournament once. got slammed around and beat up pretty bad, but it was so enjoyable for me, and that is a joy for me to play the fluffiest army I can, because I think a lot of when I go to the tournaments or when I go to battles, what balances out the power level between my fluffiness and my opponents, sometimes, not all, but in a way, win at all costs list, is my extremely unorthodox strategy. Several times in one tournament, let's say this was my opponent's force, I would take my Terminators and I would deep strike them there, and this would be the edge of the board, and they would be sitting on a ruins or a building. I've done that. I did that 3 times in one tournament, and it worked out for me each time. Is that crazy? Yes. Is there a high chance that's not going to work out good for me? Yes. A 5-man Terminator squad, you know, and not being able to place them. And I placed them where there was enough room to put the one Terminator there, sort of like this, but that's how I did it. And you know, it's just things like that. I've deep struck Vanguard Marines behind a tank line, knowing that they would die, and they were an expensive unit, but knowing that they would do a little bit of damage before they died, number 1, and number 2, that they would distract my opponent so that I could do other things. I just do crazy things like that. So, alright, but enough of the rambling and stuff. You guys want to get on to doing other things, and this video is about to hit 30 minutes. So before it does, I would like to thank you guys for watching. I'll get this video up as soon as I can. I will get the, either before or after this, I don't know, but either before or after this, I will have the results of the giveaway to you guys. Alright guys, if you like this, thumbs up, comment in the comment section below. I answer those as soon as I can. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Share the videos around, please. And I will talk to you later.